For anyone who's been living under a rock, it's already been confirmed that Akira Toriyama, well-known manga artist for Dragon Ball, Dr. Slump, Sandland, and of course the artist for the Dragon Quest series, has unfortunately passed away on March 1st of 2024. Definitely comes as a shock to many people, including myself, as a big fan of both Dragon Ball and Dragon Quest. And for today, I just wanted to reminisce and talk about some things I grew up with Toriyama, how I got into things like Dragon Ball, how I got into things like Dragon Quest, and kind of just reminisce. And of course, we'll eventually do a video down the line talking about what's going to happen with the Dragon Quest series going forward. Now we also lost Toriyama as well. But that'll come later. I think for the time being, it's now time for mourning and just reminiscing about things that Toriyama has offered to us. So without further ado, let's just talk. So like many kids who were born in the mid to late 90s, I of course grew up watching Dragon Ball. Though not exactly Dragon Ball Z, but the OG Dragon Ball that aired on Toonami. And many people might be shocked about that, seeing how Dragon Ball Z was mostly in people's mindset in comparison to the original Dragon Ball. As I don't really have much memories of Dragon Ball Z, I definitely remember Goku chasing after Bubbles and King Kai's planet. But I more so remember things like Goku training up for the World Martial Arts Tournament, him turning to Ozaru during the Emperor Pilaf saga, and I definitely remember King Piccolo. Those are more so my memories with Dragon Ball. Not so much with Z, but much more with the original Dragon Ball. And then after a bit, I would watch Dragon Ball GT, I would watch C, but I wasn't too big of a fan of Dragon Ball to really be engrossed into the series. Like, it would come on, I would watch it. But when I really became a Dragon Ball fan was really when Dragon Ball Z Kai came onto TV. Though I didn't watch it on Nicktoons, I would watch the uncut version via unofficial means, we'll say. And I really did enjoy watching what I watched of Dragon Ball Z Kai. So much so to the point when by the time the Cell Saga was over and they weren't doing Boo, I asked one of my friends who had DVD box sets of Dragon Ball Z to lend him his copies of the Boo Saga so I can sit down and watch the Boo Saga. And that was definitely a fun watch overall. And to this point, I'm still very much a fan of Dragon Ball. I saw Battle of Gods, I watched Resurrection F, I watched Dragon Ball Super even though I'm not that big of a fan of Super, and of course I saw Dragon Ball Super Broly, which is a great movie in my opinion. Though the only one I have yet to watch yet is Dragon Ball Super Superhero. Though I'll probably will make that a thing, seeing how now Toriyama's gone now, might as well go on and watch Dragon Ball Superhero. And I'm definitely for sure going to watch Dragon Ball Daima. And of course moving on, there's of course Dragon Quest. And many people will know I'm very much a recent fan of Dragon Quest. I really consider myself a fan of the series in 2016 when I started playing Dragon Quest Builders and fell in love with that game. And then of course 2018 came around, was Dragon Quest XI, the North American release. I played through that, and that basically motivated me to play the rest of the mainline Dragon Quest games. Of course this is a very abridged retelling of how I got into the series, but Dragon Quest Builders is that reason why I got into the series in the first place. It had a great game and it had a very charming story overall. And of course, because of Toriyama's artwork, I was very much grabbed into the world of Dragon Quest. That eventually led me to play Dragon Quest XI, Dragon Quest 1, Dragon Quest 4, so on and so forth. And by the way, behind the scenes, I'm currently playing Dragon Quest 8 again on the 3DS, because I just want to play it again. I wanted to reminisce Toriyama and the great things he's done. And on top of that, I'm also rewatching Dragon Ball Z Kai, because of course, it's one of my favorite versions of Dragon Ball Z. And of course, aside from both Dragon Quest and Dragon Ball, there's of course Chrono Trigger. Probably one of the best RPGs out there, and part of the main reason is because of Toriyama's art style. I personally think if you don't have that Toriyama art style, something would have felt missing when you played Chrono Trigger. Because Toriyama did work on the game, it just added an extra level of specialness to the game. And there's other things like Blue Dragon, Sandland, Dr. Slump, all of them very intriguing to me, though I haven't really been motivated to try out reading Sandland or reading Dr. Slump or watching some of the anime of Dr. Slump. And in terms of what I've heard about Blue Dragon, it doesn't really seem like something I'd be interested in, but hey, it is what it is when it comes down to it. I think the one thing to understand during a time of mourning of a very famous person like Toriyama is his creations will continue to live on. People will remember his works all the way into the future. People will fondly remember Dragon Ball. People who grew up reading Dr. Slump will remember that very fondly. Of course, Japan will definitely remember Dragon Quest. Everything will be remembered all the way into the future. It will be no different to things like Mickey Mouse, any of the fairy tales that we read, and hell, even animes like Astro Boy, Speed Racer, Lupin the III, all those creators have left us, and their creations are still remembered to this day. And definitely will be the case for Toriyama, because Dragon Ball Z is a big phenomenon around the world. Dragon Quest is a crazy big thing in Japan, and people will definitely remember Chrono Trigger. And I think that's the one thing I'll leave for today's video. As I mentioned before, I'll of course be replaying Dragon Quest VIII, and I'll be rewatching Dragon Ball Z Kai to remember Toriyama from. He's definitely left an impact for me, and I'm pretty sure for many other people, he's left an impact for them. And that'll be the one thing I'll leave to everyone for this video. Hope to see you guys on the next one. Take care.